Have you ever wondered what secrets our pets keep? What thoughts are swirling around in their furry little heads? Well, today we read diving into a story that proves our animal friends have depths we can hardly imagine. This is the tale of an old farmer named Briggs and his loyal dog. A story that starts with a nightly mystery and ends with a heart-wrenching revelation. Every single night, without fail, Briggs's dog would sit by the old weathered barn door. He wouldn't bark, he wouldn't whine, he'd just sit there, a silent, furry sentinel, staring intently at the wood as if waiting for something. Briggs was puzzled. He'd check the barn every morning, and nothing was ever out of place. The livestock were safe, the tools were where he left them, and there were no signs of intruders. So, what was his dog guarding? This peculiar ritual had been going on for years. At first, Briggs thought it was just a strange habit, a quirk of his canine companion. He'd call his dog, pat his head, and try to coax him back into the warm farmhouse. But the dog would only wag his tail, give Briggs a loving lick, and then return to his post. It was as if he had a solemn duty that couldn't be abandoned. Briggs would often stand by the window, watching his faithful friend, a shadow against the moonlit barn, and wonder what could possibly be so important. As the years rolled by, both Briggs and his dog grew older. Briggs's steps became slower, his back a little more stooped. His dog's muzzle turned gray, his movements less spry, but his nightly vigil never wavered. The mystery of the barn door became a familiar, comforting part of their routine. Briggs even started leaving a warm blanket and a bowl of water for his friend during his nightly watch. He accepted that this was just something his dog did, a secret he might never understand. One winter, the dog fell ill. He was old, and the vet said there wasn't much that could be done. Briggs was heartbroken. He spent his days by his dog's side, whispering comforting words and stroking his soft fur. For the first time in years, the spot by the barn door was empty at night. One evening, as Briggs sat with his ailing friend, the dog lifted his head, let out a soft whine, and looked towards the barn. It was a look filled with such longing and urgency that it tugged at Briggs's heart. In that moment, Briggs knew he had to solve the mystery. He had to understand what his loyal companion had been guarding all these years. He gently told his dog to rest, promising he would go and check on whatever it was. With a heavy heart and a flickering lantern, Briggs made his way through the crisp night air to the barn. The old wooden door creaked as he approached. The same sound he'd heard 1,000 times before. But tonight, it felt different. He unlatched the heavy lock and slowly, carefully, pulled the door open. The lantern light spilled into the darkness, illuminating the dusty air and the familiar shapes of hay bales and farming equipment. At first, everything looked normal. The cows were sleeping peacefully, and the chickens were roosting quietly. Briggs scanned every corner, his heart pounding with a mix of anticipation and fear. What could it be? And then, he saw it. Tucked away in a dark corner, almost hidden behind a stack of old sacks, was a small, almost unnoticeable detail. On the inside of the barn door, low to the ground, were a series of scratch marks. They weren't from a pest or a wild animal. They were deliberate, almost like a message. Briggs knelt down, holding the lantern closer. His breath caught in his throat. Next to the scratches, carved into the wood in faint, shaky letters, was a name, Lily. And below the name, a date from years ago. The memory hit Briggs like a tidal wave, and tears welled up in his eyes. Lily was the name of his first dog, the mother of the loyal friend, now lying in his house. She had passed away in this very barn, right by this door, while giving birth to her puppies. His current dog was the only one who had survived from that litter. It all clicked into place. His dog wasn't guarding the barn from something outside. He was guarding a memory inside. He was watching over the spot where his mother had brought him into the world and where she had taken her last breath. Every night, for his entire life, he had been paying tribute to his mother, keeping her memory alive in the only way he knew how. He wasn't guarding against an intruder. He was standing watch for a ghost, for a presence only he could feel. Briggs sank to the ground, the lantern light trembling in his hand. He ran his fingers over the faint carving and the desperate scratches Lily must have made in her final moments. He was overwhelmed by a profound sense of love and sorrow. For all these years, he had seen his dog's ritual as a strange habit, but it was an act of profound love and loyalty, a silent memorial to a mother he barely knew. He thought about all the nights his dog sat in the cold, in the rain, in the snow, never once abandoning his post. He wasn't just a pet. He was a son, grieving and remembering. The farmer felt a pang of guilt for not understanding sooner. But it was quickly replaced by an immense wave of love and admiration for the incredible creature he had been blessed to share his life with. Briggs returned to the house, his heart heavy but full. He knelt by his dog, who was now sleeping, his breathing shallow. He gently stroked his head and whispered, "I know, boy, I know. You've been a good son. She would be so proud of you." The dog's tail gave a weak, almost imperceptible thump against the floor, as if he understood. A few days later, Briggs's loyal companion passed away peacefully in his sleep. The farmhouse felt terribly empty without him. The following night was the first in many years that Briggs didn't see the familiar silhouette by the barn. The silence was deafening. Driven by an impulse, Briggs took his own carving knife and walked out to the barn. He opened the creaky door and knelt by the spot. With careful, loving strokes, he carved his dog's name into the wood, right below his mother's. He added the dates of his life, creating a small, humble memorial on the inside of the barn door. Now 2 names were etched there, a testament to a love that transcended species and a loyalty that lasted a lifetime. From that day on, Briggs would often visit the barn, not to check on the livestock, but to stand before the door and remember. He would remember Lily, the dog who gave her life for her pup, and he would remember her son, the dog who spent his life honoring her. The barn door was no longer just a barrier to keep things in or out. It was a sacred monument, a silent storyteller of a love that never died. This story reminds us that the animals in our lives have their own stories, their own emotions, and their own profound connections that we may never fully comprehend. They love, they grieve, and they remember, just like we do. So next time your pet does something a little strange, a little unexplainable, maybe, just maybe, they're telling you a story. All you have to do is learn how to listen. Thanks for watching today. If this story touched your heart, please give this video a like and consider subscribing for more stories like this one. We'd love to hear about your own pet's mysterious habits in the comments below. See you next time.